Hi there, I'm Russ, the Real Estate Dude, and I want to talk to you guys about renters right now. I'm gonna date this, which I normally don't, but I'm gonna date this. This is mid-August, 2022, and at this point in this market, for those of you watching this later on in life, the real estate market is starting to shift. Now, a lot of people are talking about shift as in the market is going to collapse and die, and everybody's going to be a flaming wreckage, i.e., the version of 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I want to be really, really clear. There is a bunch of things in this market that are not like that at all. And what we need to do as a real estate industry, as real estate agents and professionals and experts, is to make sure we're communicating this information to people like renters, right? Or buyers that are thinking about buying, or we're going to buy, or we're excited to buy, and now they're not excited to buy. So I'm going to do 3 sessions here. Okay, and you can junction these together as you go. But the first chunk, so this is chunk number 1, and this is just if you've got somebody that's renting a house, how do you communicate to them the importance of purchasing a house now? Because a lot of people renting would say, hey, I'm renting, and I heard the market's shifting, market shifted, inventory went up, prices went down, which, by the way, I still, at this point, mid-August now, aside from houses that were way overpriced, coming back to what they should be priced at, I'm not seeing anywhere that values are dropping. Maybe some small pockets in California, Washington, New York, potentially maybe. But even then, we're not seeing that in a bunch of places. Like I'm standing in Detroit, Michigan, we are at a 1.5 month supply of homes. It's been a 1.5 month supply of homes for the last 6 months straight. And last year, this time it was at 2.1. So this year's actually less supply of homes than there was when we're talking about last year, which was ridiculous last year. Okay, so when we're talking to a renter, the renter's fears are going to be, I don't want to buy a house and then have the house value go down and lose my butt. Okay, so that's typically the line that a renter is going to go on, and or they don't know for sure whether they qualify for a house or not. So first question I'm going to say, I'm going to ask them when I'm talking to a renter is, if you could, and there was a way to do it, and it wasn't a financial hardship, we don't have to do circus stunts or break the law like they did in 2002, 3, 4, and 5. If we were able to qualify you and it was a good move for you to buy a house, would you be interested in buying a house? And sometimes the answer is yes. Yeah, if I could, I would. Okay, great. So let's dig into that. Let's get somebody to walk you through that. You might be surprised what you could do. You might be surprised what you can't do. So now when I'm talking to a renter, many times they would like to own a home and not rent, but they just don't know what they can and can't do. So let's find out, right? So I've got a trusted guy that I use. And what he's going to do is he's going to ask you some basic questions, get some basic information. And once he gets that, then he can tell you what you can and can't do. He might say to you, yes, we can get you in a home. By the way, if you are military, you could potentially do a VA loan, which potentially means you could do a purchase with $0 out of pocket. So you don't have to have 20 or 30 grand to buy that house. If you have a smaller nut of income or nut of money laying around, you may be able to qualify for an FHA loan. So you might need less money to put down than you would think. As the market shifts a little bit, there are some other creative ways that we could potentially set you up to be able to actually purchase a home and be in a house. So if you really want to be in a house and set yourself up for long-term future potential financial freedom, then let's get clear on that. Okay. So first things first is like, are they willing? If the answer is yes, great. If they're not, then the next part will be going into really simple conversation. I want to keep this as simple as possible. Okay. And what I don't want to do is baffle them with a bunch of BS. I want to tell them something, but I want to show them also what I mean. Okay. So the next question out of my mouth to a renter would be, well, how much are you paying per month in rent? Right now, national average, by the way, is somewhere around $1,800 a month. Okay. Let's just round it down so we can be conservative here, so we can have a sane conversation without crazy numbers. On $1,500 a month, that's $18,000 a year. Okay, $1,800 a month is around $21K per year. Okay, if you go to $2,000 a month, right? $2,000 a month, $24,000 in a year. Okay, how many years have you been renting? Next question: how many years have you been renting? Okay, so where's your rent at? And how many years have you been renting? Okay, so if they say, well, I've been renting for 5 years, well, 5 times 18 is just under $100,000. Just under 100 grand, right? At 1,800, 21,000, you're looking at over $100,000 for $1,800 a month. So here's the problem. At the end of 5 years, when you leave this place, how much are they going to give you back of that 100,000? The answer, of course, is zero, right? So what I'm suggesting is if you could have that same amount of dollars going into a house, even if you had to sell it in 5 years, with appreciation, what it has been the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years, the house price has gone up and you've paid a little bit down towards the principal. Even worst case scenario, you can get out of there even versus actually throwing away guaranteed 100% of that money. So what we want to do is we want to make sure we're telling the story so it makes sense to them. So if you had $18,000 that are going towards a house every year, if you in 30 years keep renting, you will have paid off the landlord's home. So if you're renting a house, congratulations, in 30 years, you've paid off a house. The problem is you don't get to keep it and you don't get to cash it out and you don't get to keep any of that money, right? If you do the same thing for 30 years on a house, even if the house price doesn't go up $1, okay, national average house price right now is around $350, but let's say $300,000 house, even if it doesn't go up $1 in 30 years, you have $300,000 in equity if it doesn't go up a penny, right? So what is the fear right now of renters? The fear for a renter right now is what's going to happen is they buy a house at $200,000, right? Or $300,000, and then that house price drops. Let's say it goes down 5% in 1 year. 5% in 1 year is only 10 grand. So that house is now worth 190. Okay, so here's the rub, right? You are guaranteed throwing away $18,000 a year at $1,500 a month, and you're worried about potentially, if things go really bad, dropping 5%, losing 10. So let me ask you this. Would you rather lose $10,000 or $18,000 in the next year? Okay, now keep in mind, if that goes on for another 2 years, you're going to be at $20,000 down on the house potentially, and $36,000 you've paid in rent. So almost no matter what, barring something catastrophic happening with a house, you're still ahead every year by losing less. You might go, well, Russ, I'm ahead, but I'm still losing money. Yeah, but you're losing way less. So a lot of times they're not thinking this through, saying, yeah, but I know what I've got. You're guaranteed 36 grand loss in 2 years, 100% chance of that. There's a slim chance, very, very slim chance based on what's going on currently in the real estate market, that the house prices are going to drop at all. And even if they do drop 5%, which would be huge, considering where we've been and what supplies are in most neighborhoods, this $20,000 drop in 2 years would be considered really, really low probability. Barring something catastrophic happening, that's probably not likely to happen. Even if it stays flat, you're still ahead $36,000. Now, what are all the economists saying right now? Economists are saying interest rates are going up. That's part two. And then economists are also saying that even with the stuff going on based on the where supply is, so forth and so on, they're expecting to be in the 5% or so appreciation over the next year versus 8, 10, 12, 15, 20 in some neighborhoods, 5% appreciation. So the economists are all saying probably more likely your $20,000 house is now going to be worth $210,000. It's going to go up $10,000 in the next year. If it happens again the next year and stays conservative at 5%, now it's worth $220,000, rounding, of course, guys here. So don't pick on my math too much. It's worth $220,000. So now instead of losing 36, you've made an additional 20 in equity. And by the way, when you sell the house or when you decide you're going to go into renting again at the end of your life and you sell this house, that equity goes in your pocket. So when you're talking about how do I get an extra $20,000 towards my retirement spending by owning a house, that puts you in a better spot to have that. Number one, guarantee you're going to not have the guaranteed $36,000 loss. More likely, even if it stays flat, you're still ahead. And on the good side, if it's conservative over the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, which economists are all agreeing on at this point, which is weird that they agree on anything. If it only goes up 3 to 5%, that 200 becomes 220, 230, 250, 260. Nothing else happens. It doesn't go up $1. In the next 30 years, you've got $200,000 equity in the house. You can cash that out and put that in your pocket versus guaranteed $18,000 loss times 30 years. I didn't do the math on that. Holy smokes. You're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars going out in rent and you get $0 back. Okay. So should you buy a house right now? If there's any way you can, you should. If you want long-term financial freedom, you want to have more money in your pocket when it's time to retire, more money that's actually spendable towards the end of your life, you want to own a house now. That's a conversation we should be having with renters, and show them the math, ask them what their rent is, how many years have they been renting, how many dollars have they thrown away guaranteed, and what are you going to do over the next 2 or 3 years? So if there's a way to do it, would you? Yes, great. Let me get in touch with my guy. Now, worst case scenario, my guy might say, nope, you're not a good fit for this right now, and here's what you need to do to get there. Why wait a year to figure out what you need to do to get there? You should start working on that stuff now, so that next year you're in a better position to potentially own, because remember, you're still throwing away $18,000 a month. So there's the first part of talking renters through, showing them the numbers and the math on what they're doing, getting their brain going the right direction. Now, don't want you convincing anybody of doing something they don't want to do. It's not what we're here for. But for those that want to do it, they just don't know a path, and they don't know why or how important it is. That's part of our job as real estate professional and expert, to show them why it's more than just you should do it. You really need to do it if you can. Okay, I'm Russ Lagan, Real Estate Dude, and there's my conversation, part 1 of 3 on how and why to talk to renters about renting. All right, see you on the next one. Bye-bye.